Man, how is cold in Houston right now? That's crazy. It's cold. It's 20 something degrees. No, it's like 30. But it was 20 something degrees last night, man. That's wild. I think as far as the weather goes, I haven't seen weather this wild. Really, the weather's been wild for the last 5 years. The weather's been really strange for the last 5 years, so you can't tell me global warming ain't real. That's crazy, man. I need to really, man, look, this was the perfect time to drop the Boy Drew beanie and hoodie. That's coming next though. I got some merch coming for y'all, but I think we just gonna miss the winter time. Hey man, if you're just tuning in for the first time, you've never tuned in before. It's me, Boy Drew the Charm Guy. You are tuned into the Charm Hour Live. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this message, throw 50K in the chat. If y'all don't know, man, we got a 50,000 sub movement going on the channel right now because we want 50,000 people here with us having uncomfortable, controversial conversations, and we know we're going to get it on this channel. For everybody that has joined us, everybody that has donated, we appreciate everything that you've done. Every Friday at 7:30 p.m. we do a live studio show. So we're in our studio with the nice cameras. If you hadn't seen it, if you missed this past the last Friday we did, we won't be doing it this Friday because at the studio we'll actually be doing a grand opening for the studio where I'm at on the network that I work on. But every Friday 7:30 we go live. You know, we play music. You know, intro. And everybody can participate. It's definitely a real live show. So I'm promoting that because I want everybody to be in attendance on that 7:30 show every Friday. And of course, you know, right now, man, we have moments like this where we're not in the studio. We chilling, we talking, we having just conversations together. Y'all can join in on the fun here. I'm not with the panel. It's just me. There's all sorts of variety I'll be offering y'all on this show, on this channel, moving forward. But you know, it all started right here, baby. Just me and y'all talking uninterrupted. And I have a few things that I would like to discuss and I'd like to talk about. Uh, you know, this channel has really went to a place to where I've talked about several things. I've talked about politics, definitely talk about relationships. I've covered so many different topics, and I love doing that. But one of the core pieces of my message will always be the black family and healing the black family. So anytime that there is a subject that goes back to that, I'm gonna bring it up, and I'm gonna always reference what I've talked about and discussed before, and how that pertains to the central message is that that's the crisis. I've always said that's the crisis in the black community. It's the black family, gentrification. There's so many things that I've talked about and discussed. But whenever I can use things that are happening in pop media or in pop culture, as we say, I'm gonna always go back to see I told you so. That's why I said what I said. You know, I've pointed these things out over and over again. You know, when I talked about, y'all gonna hear me say this over and over again. When I talked about Cheyenne Bryant, I caught a lot of flack behind that. But look what you see, you know, eventually her doing, putting her foot in her mouth with a lot of things that she was saying later on. Why was I taking that so serious? Because I feel like when we talk about black relationships and when we talk about the black family, I think we need to be very careful when we speak on it. We need to come with experience. We need to come with, uh, you know, I could say facts, but a lot of times someone's experience isn't necessarily a fact. It's just wisdom. And why do I say it's not fact? Because if you haven't gone through that yet, how can I say that that's, you know, it's really up to you or not to believe that. But I think once you take a collective group and they've said what they've said, and you kind of just look at it and say, okay, I've gotten so many answers, I can infer that this is probably the case. Y'all go ahead and hit that like button too when y'all come in. You know, you can hit the dislike button too, but I really want y'all to, today, I want this message shared. I want everybody engaging, whether you disagree or agree. It doesn't matter. Everybody is welcome here to have a conversation with me. But yeah, so, you know, one of the passions that I've had, of course, is talking about the family and the family crisis that I feel we've had in our community. But I think uh, one of the one of the most popular things that we're talking about in the black community right now is relationships. So you have a lot of relationship podcasts that are coming on. You got a lot of red pill, uh, manosphere conversations that are coming into view, and so those conversations are important because they point out a lot of the difficulties we have as men and women in our community in making these relationships. Tarion Caldwell. Now I've known him to be somebody who is a comedian. More than anything, I knew him as a comedian. I really didn't know him as someone who was a relationship guru or whatever the case may be. I knew a little bit about him. I think he's from like Dallas, Fort Worth area. And of course, he lives in Houston. For the most part, I think he lives in, I mean, I've seen him actually down here. I've been in certain spots and I've seen him, but I had no clue that he was a part of the conversation tonight situation with Keita Rose. Now we know Keita Rose went on this rampage, put, uh, pretty much outing everybody. She outed that whole cast. And I only took a little bit of that in. I didn't take all of it in. But for the most part, when I see things like that or the implosion of a lot of these relationship podcasts, I pretty much know that that's going to happen because what have I been saying consistently the whole time? The one thing I've been saying consistently the whole time is there's no experience for marriage up there. There's no experience for marriage up there. When you don't have any real experience for relationship and marriage up there and people just talking about dating all day, after a while, those people going to put their foot in their mouth. And certain things that they applied or they actually advocate for, you can just tell that they cruising for a bruising. Now, I don't have much to say about Keita outside of I feel like that's on character for her to do what she did. There were times where I would hear her speaking and I would just be like, I'm just totally against that. I don't like anything that she's talking about. I don't think she's making good sense to me. And she sounds like a single woman. But when you get up there and you listen to everybody else up there talk, and you get up there and hear everything else that all these guys are saying, even the guys when they be simping and they be advocating, in simpism for these women, I just know that it's going to implode. Derek Jackson, same thing. When you heard Derek Jackson getting up there and just everything a woman says he agrees with. Everything that woman, anything to make these women feel happy. I already know as a man, as a real man, and having been in a marriage for over quite some time, I know that that's very dangerous. That's dangerous for yourself and that woman because our job is to guide them. So these other guys, whatever the guy's name is on Conversation Tonight, when I hear them up there and I see that they're, pretty much pandering to an audience and to a certain group and not giving any real sound information, you know that it's going to implode. But then when you start to get into this implosion and then they start telling on each other, you'll see like the character backline of them. What I mean by character backline is who's up here talking to me? What is this person doing in their personal life to be up here in our phones, in our hands, in these programs, telling us how we should be living our lives? How do they live their life? So someone like a Tarion Caldwell, why was he ever up there? Because he had followers? Because behind the scenes, he's a bisexual man. How is that? How is that good for the black community? How are you advocating conventional families when you live a lifestyle that's contrary to what you're talking about? So that's an issue. That's an issue. Same thing with Keita. Now she out here, which I thought that was on character for her. No disrespect. I think she's a nice looking lady. She has some complaints about how I think one of the guys on the main guy on there, what I'm saying, wanted her to lose weight or look a certain way to be more presentable when they was, building a brand or whatever the case may be. But now look, I mean, she's posting some provocative pics. Everything that to me, when I look at these relationship podcasts and I see these people dressing a certain way, looking a certain way, trying to appeal to the audience, especially come off as sexy, I know it's a problem. Because we're not talking about what we need to be talking about at that point. It's about sex appeal. You're trying to get fans. You're trying to get people to join in on your mission and your message or whatever the case may be, and you're not really giving them no substance. And it's the same thing that we'll sometimes, or most of the time, suffer within church. And this is specifically with our people. And you need people like myself to come out and say, hey, look, that's entertainment. Maybe this is a form of entertainment. But here, I'm not looking for a fan base. I'm looking for a community to build and really have real discussions and grow so we can go forward and have something in the future for our people. I'm not here to look, I don't care about being famous. I don't care about getting rich. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to dialogue and just be straightforward with you. I don't really care if you like what I say. I don't care if you hit the dislike button or leave or unsubscribe. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, the truth is divisive. I've always said that the truth is divisive. And what matters more to me is the community, the overall community. So when I see these people getting up here like that, like Tarion, Caldwell, whom I thought was just first off, I have nothing against Tarion. I think he's a funny guy. But I feel like a lot of times with these guys, when they putting on them dresses and they want to act like women too much, y'all don't see nothing wrong with that. I think that's weird. I always, as a man, I would not want to put on a dress and a wig, and that's how I'm funny. Or I'm always acting like a woman. That's how you perceive me to be funny. And some of them do it so well. I've always thought that was weird, that you just want to put on a wig and dress and get in drag and act like a woman all the time. I think that that's strange. And what happens is our women will applaud that. Our women will applaud those men and encourage that and encourage that. And it's only to the detriment of our community. I've said that here on this channel several times. I've said that, period. And you've probably heard other men say this. It's like, hey, so you will applaud these men getting in dresses, getting in drag. You will applaud these men having alternative lifestyles, but you're complaining that there's no men in your community. You're complaining that there's no good men in your community. How does that work? How do we how is that operable? How does that work? How is that going to work for you? So I don't think it's ever a good idea to just applaud these men for acting like that. We should discourage that behavior, let alone having somebody like that be a part of a panel talking about heterosexual relationships. That's the mass confusion in our community, too. Because you have this representation up here talking about family, being a father. I'm sorry, as a father, I think that's you raising sons and you a bisexual man, I think that's unacceptable. I think it's unacceptable. I think it's unacceptable to teach your boys that that's acceptable. That's not an acceptable lifestyle in raising a family. How is that acceptable? And so you're a father saying you got kids and you're a single father, and that's good, handling up on your business, but how is that acceptable behavior for your sons? I don't agree with that at all. Then how you going to get on any panel and talk about relationships, especially with our women? I've always said that I believe that these conversations are too women led. It's two women are leading these conversations much too much. Women lead the conversations and men are pandering in the process. So when you see these relationship podcasts implode, and then you start to get the character background on these people, you start to kind of get a different view of, well, they shouldn't have been up there in the first place. I don't know what she was on Tasha K. I never thought I saw Keita Rose get the Tasha K. And I'll look at Tasha K clips or whatever. She gossip. That's what she do. It's entertainment. But now she up there talking about some of the guys, or one of the guys made have had OnlyFans. They didn't have OnlyFans up there with each other. A life of perversion. And you talking about relationships. And you trying to talk about healthy relationships with people. and out here having wives, out here having wives, out here having, significant others and raising children. But this is the lifestyle that you live behind closed doors. It's never gonna work, and you never gonna escape unrighteousness when you're doing that. That's why I say, I've always said, you can get on. Why don't y'all just get up there and talk about what y'all do? Why don't you glorify the life that you live? If that's the life that you live behind closed doors, talk about that. Talk to the community that lives the alternative or wild lifestyle and give them advice in that. Don't get on here pandering to women because you know these women want relationships and you know these people need families and you trying to talk about real family situations, but behind closed doors, you don't have nothing going on to even be qualified to talk about marriages. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of these, I think, if they not married, they don't need to be on that stage talking about relationships. And to be totally honest, I think you need some time. You need some time in as we used to say in the Navy, time and rate. So you need time in your job to be able to qualify for certain things. I think for the most part, you need to be married for quite some time before you can even get up on that stage and talk about any type of relationship activity. I don't want to hear about dating. Again, if that's what you want to get into, there needs to be specific places for that. You can go to speed dating groups or whatever the case may be. But when people are up here really talking about this relationship thing, why are we listening to people that don't have the experience, all to just find out that behind closed doors, they live in a wild lifestyle anyway? Like the Derek Johnsons, Jacksons, or like whatever the other guy that was teaming up with him and they made this game. They out there selling and making money. That was the product. The thing about this is when you build an audience and a fan base and enough people to come in and look at you, you can start selling them products. And just coming from the musician world, that was the thing. You make a record, you drop a record, people like your record, you make a show, you go do the show, you sell your merch. There's no difference with this. It's really essentially the same thing. Unfortunately, I think there was a time where when it came to music and just certain forms of media, we knew it was fake. We knew it was bullshit. We didn't need Tupac to really be a gangster, even though he went out his way to really prove that. We didn't need some of these rappers to really be doing with all these, fantastical things, even though they went out their way to prove that. And it just built a bigger audience, and you just building pretty much a larger group that will come buy things from you. Where it gets wonky and weird in the podcast world, the relationship podcast world, is people are really getting on here looking for real advice. People are looking for someone to really validate or disqualify things that they believe or don't believe. And I think at the position that we have in the community, in the black community, we just can't afford it. We cannot afford any more poor debauchery filled media. We just can't. We it's not good for us because of the condition that we're in. So we need others to step up and say that's wrong, that's erroneous. No, that's not factual. That's not fact based. We're gonna change our ideals on that because that's just not helping our community. We just can't handle it no more after hip hop and after all the debauchery filled information that we receive. We cannot handle any more of these people coming up here lying to us, telling us a bunch of crap. So it's not shocking, that Tarion Caldwell is, I think it's a little weird. I always find it a little weird when these guys dress a certain way and act like women. I always find that weird. I hate to hear that these brothers be up here posing as real men and talking to men and trying to talk to us about dating, and then in the end they be gay. As far as the rest of that cast, again, when you have somebody like Akita, I have nothing against Keita Raw. I'm gonna keep saying that because I feel like she's the one who felt that she was wrong, and she probably did us all a service by outing them so it can be proven that a lot of these relationship podcasts are full of it and be lying to y'all. But even somebody like that, you not a wife. Why are you up here talking about relationships? You not a wife. Why are you up here talking about relationships? Nobody's made you a wife yet. So what can you tell these women out here that's going to put them in a better position to be a wife? What are you going to tell them? I'm gonna merge all this together when I talk about this mother in Pontiac, Michigan. How do you leave your kids? How do you leave your kids unattended for years? You mean you got kids that you just leave unattended and don't check on? You got kids that you leave in the house and don't check on them. Don't barely feed them. It's neighbors around. What are the neighbors doing? You mean it's filthy in there? You got teenagers in there? Where the baby daddies at? I'm finna go somewhere y'all not gonna like. I'm finna go somewhere. And the few of you that are here are gonna get a very powerful message. Like it and throw 50K in the chat if you receive this. Because even if one of you got this I'm finna go somewhere with this. Because I'm finna tie everything that I've talked about and others have talked about in this situation. But I'm gonna set it up. You mean to tell me you got kids in the house, and I'm sure other people know that there's kids in this house, staying, living, surviving, having to go to school, and you ain't checked up on these kids? Living in filth? And you online dancing and shaking your butt? I know y'all heard about that mama in Pontiac, Michigan. Black woman. Up here dancing, twerking, and having a good time. Tommy Sotomayor is somebody who got banned off pretty much most social platforms because of what he was saying was pretty offensive. And one of the things that he said was that our women in our community are some of the worst stewards of children. And I think the way he said it aligned with cuss words and things like that. It was so offensive and egregious to some that they just wanted to get him off the net. But the statistics don't run away from that statement. Collectively for all women, but especially when you look at our women, considering that they're the group that's probably most likely going to be single raising children, I don't think that's far from the truth. We just don't hold our women accountable. We don't want to say nothing. In fact, we'd rather ban the message instead of correct the problem. All these things tie in together because I've said this here. Why are we having kids out of wedlock? I'm going to say that again. Why are we having kids out of wedlock? You don't have no kid. What's up, Tekken? You don't have no children with your husband. You got children with a man that you have temperamental feelings with. And once you make that, also by the way, Tekken, every Friday, 7:30, man, we didn't upgrade it. We got an in studio live that we do with cameras, great setup. I want you to check it out. I might tag you or reshare it in the community so you can check out what we've done. We've been able to make some upgrades. So that's the new time. That's where I'm gonna be at most of the time. Of course, I'm gonna be, you know what I'm saying, always talking here. I've expanded the panel, the group. You know, we growing on this channel. No discipline. Yep, we love sex too much. Men and women. And by the way, this is not me blaming women. This is not me, because we have to hold this together in the community. But what I'm saying is, you also have to be accountable for the choice you make. So you got 3 kids. Now a 15-year-old at that. And you didn't have kids long enough that you didn't left these kids in the house by themselves. You leaving kids in the house, so we know you got kids. You didn't have it for quite some time. It ain't like this is new. And you just leave them there unattended. Where are these fathers at? You mean after the first time, okay, nobody has made me a wife. I'm not a wife. Nobody's made me one. I'm a baby mama. I got this one kid. I'm going to go try to get another man to love me. I'm going to give him a baby. And I want that man to take care of this other baby that's not his. And love this baby like it's his own. That's a woman's logic. I want you to love me. I'm going to give you a baby. And you're going to love this other baby that ain't your baby. You're going to love him too. And you're going to take care of us. Oh, by the way, I don't have no skills, life skills as a wife. I don't cook. Now I'm going to have sex. That's what I do. But outside of that, I'm not cooking. I don't tend to the children. I don't fold clothes. I don't wash dishes. I don't do any of that. I'm an independent woman. I'm going to just go, I can do what I want to do. Let me tell y'all something for women out there. You have to be, y'all are not as selective as y'all say y'all are. And I know that because who you having kids with. Y'all not that selective. All men are not created equal. There's a group of men that will come in, take care of you, and take care of all those children. Yes, but he's still going to want a level of respect from you. He's going to have a standard of requirement from you. That's just what it is. But all men, I'll say this, all men will come drop some D off. All men will come in you and just leave the baby and go. Most men will do that. There's only a very few of us that will marry y'all and love y'all unconditionally. Not every man's going to love you unconditionally. What do you think is so special? The man has to see something special in you specifically that make him say he want to put up with your nonsense. Because in all actuality, behind closed doors, most of y'all are terrible. Selfish, complain all the time, can't never make you happy, always got something to say and talk about, no matter how much that person do for you. Most women are like that. I don't care how good she is, how saved she is, none of that. Most women are kind of like that. So for a man to say, I'm willing to put up with that from you, I'm going to love you and take care of you no matter what, he got to find something special in you. And I'm sorry. Not all of y'all are so special that so many men want to do that. You're going to be much more hard pressed to find a man that will replace the man you had. Women seek from men productivity. If we can produce, the chances of us finding another you, maybe even a better version of you, is pretty high. Y'all may not like that. A lot of y'all gonna talk about double standards, but it's true. A man, but see, we like what we like. Even if you don't think that it's better than you and she don't look better than me, she may not look better than you. But does she operate better than you? More than likely, yeah, if he's willing to go wife her up. And you'll see that, how many times have you seen somebody go get that second wife or get into that other relationship and it's flourishing? It's flourishing. It operates better than the first thing they had. Better than the first lady they had. You know why? Because you learn from that first mistake. You see what you're not willing to put up with. You see your self-value. And you can go get you another woman and come up. It's not really that easy for y'all to do that as women. This is why y'all got to safeguard y'all sex. Y'all have to safeguard y'all sex And y'all have to make better decisions on your own than men do. Because you'll get with a man and you'll have multiple kids and you'll ruin the chances of anybody really wanting to come be with you for real. After so many years, all they want to do is drop D off, especially when you post 35. You get 40 and up, nobody is really thinking about taking you serious like that. And because we don't have these honest conversations, and right now in the relationship world, there's a lot of dialogue of, you know, oh, you 40 and God gonna send you somebody, or, you know, just keep praying and God will send you a man. No, he not. He probably done already did that. He probably done already sent you somebody you was supposed to have, and you didn't throw everything but the kitchen sink at it to keep it around. He's probably already done that. Just to be quite honest. And you took it for granted. So y'all have to make better decisions. The truth is, a lot of these women too are very much so irresponsible with raising kids, nor do they have the patience. We've been told that. We have been told, you know, especially in the 90s, you get the independent mama raising the kids, and, you know, the single mother thing and all that. She's strong, black woman can raise kids on her own. Man, a lot of those kids were left at home by themselves then. The one thing that them mamas would do is make sure that the lights was on most of the time, and made sure that people could make sure them kids could eat and heat up stuff on their own. They wasn't being watched. What is parenting? What do we think parenting really is? Is parenting getting you everything that you want? Buying you everything you see in the store? Is that parenting? Or is parenting putting a cultural install inside of you that's going to help you flourish as an adult as you get older? And I'm going to be honest, I don't think most women are hardwired to do that. Most women are hardwired to come in and nurture the child, console the child, and pat the child's back. You know, it is the father who's going to come in and give structure and give that child some structure, period. That's what it really is. You know, a lot of these mothers cannot handle the task of watching and raising these children on their own. They just can't. They don't have it. So we may see the extremes of when the mother is leaving the children, or neglecting them and not cleaning up. But there's other forms of that. It just may be lighter in nature. But there's some women who claim they independent, claim they can take care of a family, claim they can take care of a child, da 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 da, whatever the case may be. And there's other forms of neglect. They're not looking after grades. They're not looking after they're not seeing personally what the child is going through, what their social network is like. They're not seeing that. So there's other forms of neglect, and it's gonna happen when you don't have that father available. That's why we gotta stop having kids out of wedlock. Stop having kids out of wedlock. And as men, when we are marrying these women, we gotta go in with knowing that, okay, it's not gonna be perfect, but I'm going in here to be with somebody that I'm gonna put the commitment above everything else, and I'm gonna take care of this family. But I gotta make sure this is a woman that I can do this with, and stand on business and be able to correct her when I can. That way, I don't feel like I gotta leave the situation. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, men will leave disrespect. A man will leave a disrespectful situation every time. A man to leave a disrespectful situation if you disrespectful. We don't want to be disrespected. But when you got these women up here, again, you know, when we allow our women to have a big say and control in the relationship and how it goes, I just think you're looking for a community that's going to be in shambles. And I think that's what we've allowed. Even in the nature of sex, we've allowed them to govern that. And us as men, we got to step up and say, nah, we're not participating in that. We're not participating in debauchery. You got to be my wife first. You got to be my wife first. And it's a certain type of woman you need to be looking for. This ain't the popular answer because we want to get our rocks off. Otherwise, they should totally legalize prostitution. And I've always been an advocate of that. I know that sounds crazy. Like, why would you say that? Because for a lot of these guys that just want to get their rocks off, that's where they need to go. They need to go somewhere where it's a safe environment that's governed by some type of authority, where there's a protection that has to be in use, and that's that. They shouldn't even be able to. We shouldn't be out here just all willy nilly with our seed like that, at all. At all. There's no way. I don't believe that for 1 minute. Because it ultimately is on us. I've said this before here too. This has been said on the channel. All unwanted pregnancies are the fault of men. All unwanted pregnancies. And what do I mean by that? Meaning that we know what we about to do with this woman with no protection. So we don't want no baby. Why are we doing that? You know when you in this woman and you about to let it off, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. So these are the conversations that's needed in the space. I'm going to keep saying that. These are the conversations that's needed in the space. This is what's going to help us. Not the other nonsense that we've been dealing with for the past few years since Kevin Samuels was here. Everybody's just trying to make money off of our people. Everybody's trying to make money off our people. I'm not going to run this too long, man, because I just had I had a gallbladder removed, and I had a hernia repair. So I just really, I had to kick this live off a little bit. I ain't gave y'all no updates or nothing like that. And every Friday, 7:30, we going live. We're not going live this Friday, but we'll be live next week on Friday, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, in studio with the panel. We're going to be doing some other panels, some Zoom panels on here as well, where we discuss this. And I'm pretty sure we're going to cover this over the weekend. I'm thinking maybe Saturday. I want to talk about this even more. But man, I've talked about the black family crisis, and I'm always able to draw from these other situations to point out how jacked up it really is, man. But y'all let me know what y'all think. If y'all ain't get this live, go ahead and run it back. Tell me y'all thoughts. Get in the chat, man. I appreciate y'all as always. Love y'all. One.